Hello, I am Deb Coviello, founder of the Drop-In CEO brand, and I want to thank you for joining us on another episode of the podcast where week after week I find these amazing leaders who share their insights with you, and I also hope they do inspire you. And if you love this episode, and I know you will love this episode, please subscribe, rate, review. We love reviews, and also the best gift you can give to others is to share this episode with somebody who can glean the insights from this conversation. And as you all know, I am here to help the C-suite leaders wherever you're at in your journey to navigate those challenges with confidence. And today it is my honor to introduce to you my guest, Cory Carlson, who has had 20 years in corporate America. It gave Cory amazing opportunities as he worked his way up the executive level. But he also saw brokenness, work without purpose, burnout, lack of focus, strained marriages, and absentee parents. Business leaders, especially, were often not living life to the fullest. He is a prolific content creator. He has his own podcast, his first book, Win It Home First, as well as a second book that is coming out very soon, Rise and Go. I cannot wait for his insights to be shared with all of you. Cory, welcome to the show.
Deb, thank you very much. Thank you for having me on the show and let me, talk with your audience, and grateful for what you're doing and let me be a part of it. So thank you.
All right. So thank you so much, Cory. And to my listeners, quick shout out to Todd Wilkowski, who introduced us. We are Cincinnati folk. He said, you have to meet Cory. He's an amazing leader, amazing human. And he and I were just chatting before, and we're saying, oh my God, what we do for leaders, being their guide and helping them not only navigate through their businesses, but leading more fulfilling lives is so much aligned to the Drop-In CEO brand. But I am looking forward to learning from him as well as you. So, Cory, I would love to give you the floor a bit and share a bit about your personal story and how you have arrived at the work that you're doing now.
Well, thank you, Deb, for that. I think for any listener, I may share a bunch of different kind of tips or things that I've learned. I had a mentor say wisdom is spelled WISDUMB. And it's wisdom is from the dumb mistakes we've made. And so definitely made a few. And that's, really kind of what I've learned. And as you're listening to, anybody, is just, as I say things, just grab one item to look to implement, to look to add, to make a difference. And don't be overwhelmed by just, hey, all these different examples. Because one thing that I know in my own life, as well as just working with my clients, is no matter where you're at, you don't have to stay there. And with intentionality, you can move forward and have some growth. And so for me, I mean, I saw it both in my home life. I've seen that in my work life, where at different times I've lost in both areas. And so it really gets me to where I'm at, what I do now. And really, I guess a big part of my career, I mean, civil engineer by degree, started in Kansas City, got involved in sales for technical products, selling bridges, storm sewer. Then, luckily and thankfully got promoted and moved to Denver, Colorado, where I managed a bunch of people in states. Then I got promoted and moved to Cincinnati. And when I got to Cincinnati, I was vice president of $120 million division. And to be honest, Deb, I was a little bit in over my head. I managed people older than me. I leapfrogged my boss. I was now managing him. And what I was finding was I was taking my identity to work. Where if I gave a great presentation to the executive team, then I thought I was the man. But if it didn't go very well, I'd be all nervous and afraid I'd get canned. And so how that looked is I'd start skipping the gym. I would skip quiet time. Maybe when the kids are playing on the carpet, I had my laptop on my lap, just, catching up on emails and just kind of a little bit more work. And I was like, there's no way this is sustainable. This is not what I want. And like, I want to be successful at work, but I also want to be successful at home, and kind of not this either or. I mean, I didn't know how to do it both ways, but I figured there had to be a way. So I went and talked to my boss, who I loved. And I said, hey, I need some help, Tom. And he says, well, get an executive coach. I've always had one. And I was like, well, darn it, you should have told me that sooner. But anyways, I hired an executive coach, and it changed my life. I know that sounds extreme, but the truth is it did change my life. One, it's what I do for a living now. But the reason it changed my life is I was able to zoom out and look at life just at a bigger picture than just my work, just my 8 to 5. And so I became a better father, a better husband, a better leader. I took one more corporate move where I was president of sales for a national contractor. And I actually led this way. When I traveled to my different salespeople throughout the country, I was like, are you dating your spouse? Are you being intentional with your kids? Are you getting in the gym? Also, are you blocking out time on your schedule for business development, for think time? What are the rocks you are going after this week? Like being intentional with both home and work. And what I found, Deb, is that they got better and our company EBITDA, our company profitability improved. And I was like, man, I want to do this for a living. If this helped me and then it helps them, I'm in. And so there's more to the story, but now over the last 3.5, we're approaching 4 years. It's just been a huge blessing that I've been able to do this full time, coaching business leaders and speaking to companies and helping them win at home and win at work.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And to your point, you talk about the either or when really we can have it both. I too, this is why we get along so well. As I too was on that journey, again, starting my own business. It's hustle, hustle, because we were celebrated in our corporate life to hustle more, you get rewarded. And to your point, that's how we gain our identity. And then I found out I wasn't a very nice person. I wasn't all there and present for family and friends in my community. I said, I have to change. But one of the things I just want to pick up on is executive coaching. And I think it's becoming more popular, but even if you are not in, I'm talking to my listeners, I'm listening. Are you guys listening? Even if it has not been recommended, even if you're not in the C-suite, getting that coach, that external view, that person that can see you for who you really are, whether it's technically or again, to have a more holistic life, please consider it. It's not that hard to get one. We're not that expensive. But I think what you want to do is think about, are you worth the investment? Because if you don't invest in yourself, how are you going to be able to give and serve your family, your company, and just serve yourself? That's my feeling about it. I think everybody probably needs some coaching at some level.
I echo that, and not just because I'm a coach, obviously, but a couple of things I'd say. I saw an article a little bit ago, and I'm gonna kind of butcher this how it went over the decades, but it's kind of talked about like in the 80s, coaches were no one talked about them, even the people that had them, no one talked. It's kind of like this secret thing. And then, as it transitions in the 90s, it's kind of like, okay. Some people are saying about coaches. And now fast forward to now, it's like, yeah, I'll take a coach. When you got guys like LeBron James who have coaches for all areas of their lives, nutrition, mindset. I mean, I think LeBron James at one point had like 13 coaches that are just speaking to him in different areas in his life. And that it's no longer a secret. It is more kind of like that is what is helping people navigate through just the challenges of life. And so anytime and this probably happens with you too, Deb, anytime I'm like, when a coach or a client's getting ready to leave and move on, and it's like, hey, why did you stick around for the 12 months or whatever the case may be? And they'll be like, number one, outside perspective, and number two, accountability. And it's like, really? Like those were the reasons? Like, what about the content I brought? Or what about the insight or ideas I may have had? And they're like, oh, that's helpful. But it's outside perspective and accountability. I mean, I think for those listeners, is just leadership's lonely. It's lonely at the top because you can't talk to your employees about it because it's probably about them. You can't necessarily talk to your peers about it that are inside the company because there still is that competitive nature of what's happening. And then it's, even though we should be talking work with our spouse some just so they can stay engaged with what's going on, it's just hard to confide in them. So to have that outside source that has some business acumen, they're going to challenge you when they need to. They're going to encourage you when you need it. And that's what you have. I mean, I am a coach and I have two coaches, one to really focus on mindset and the other is kind of more of a life coach and help me on the business side. So I'm a big fan and I lead masterminds. I'm also in masterminds. I mean, to me, it is what's helped me. And to be honest, Deb, I don't know if I would have gone after some of the goals I have in the last few years without coaches. Whether it's publishing a couple books, whether it's launching a podcast, whether it's doing a live event or launching masterminds, because quite honestly, we get in our own head. We hear head trash. Like, hey, should I write this book? No, I'm not going to write a book. I'm a civil engineer by degree. I'm a sales guy by career. Why would I write a book? No one's going to like it. There's too many books out there already. I'll forget it. I'll shut it down, not do it. But if you have a coach, they can push you and encourage you in a good way. And I think we all need them. There's a bazillion coaches out there. They're at all various price points. So if the first coach you call, they're too expensive, find another coach. But I'd be investing in yourselves because, anyways, enough of my soapbox. I don't even know why I'm getting all fired up about it.
No,
I
but
just love
again,
it.
so I'll get fired up with you. So I have a coach, and actually, I'm very self-motivated. I know what I want to do, but actually through this conversation, because I was getting so stressed, I didn't have work-life balance. I wasn't whole. I wasn't completely happy. I didn't have enough joy in my life. I actually throttled back what I was planning on doing because I was imparting a lot of stress, and I gained great clarity in what were the most important things that I did want to invest in that did bring me joy. And I actually think will be needle movers for me building my business. So stay tuned. If you haven't already caught it, me on YouTube, there's a lot of content out there in short bites, shorts, shorts. I'm learning how to do shorts that are providing value, hopefully, to those C-suite leaders that if you don't hire me direct as your coach, as your business advisor, there's all kinds of content out there. And it was because of a coach that I gained clarity on where I should focus and also peel back the things that just didn't serve me anymore.
Yep.
But I would love to know how you find your clients, or how do they find you? Where are they at when they show up on your doorstep? Because again, if there's anybody out there, I want them to recognize in themselves that maybe it's the time to have that awareness to seek one. Are they introduced to you? Do you find them? Where are they at when they show up?
Yeah, they are. Well, as far as how I find them, I find them, I'd say, we'll say two ways. And then when I find them or they find me, then they're usually in kind of two conditions. So I'll hit both of those. As far as like the business development, how I find them, for sure, a lot of my business is referral related,
Okay.
of
Yeah.
just people I have coached. I'm blessed to have been doing this for now almost 4 years, coached over 160 different 65 business leaders
Beautiful.
through one-on-one or group coaching. And so now there's a little bit of flywheel happening, which is super cool. That's fun. But I'm also doing business development. I love LinkedIn. And so, follow me on LinkedIn for any listener that's on there, putting out content daily. But I've met friends on LinkedIn. I have met, podcast guest or podcast host or speaking engagements, whatever it may be. But I'm also that individual that will DM on LinkedIn. So for some people, they get my DM or direct message. For those that don't know it, they get it and they're like, oh, cool, let's have a conversation. Others get my DM and they're like, oh, this guy's probably too salesy. And so I may not be for everyone, but it has opened up the doors for some cool conversation. So I'll either get them through referrals or really just my outreach effort. Now, when I do get a prospect who is like, all right, I'm interested, and this is probably the same for your business too, Deb, they're in one of two places. Like, not everyone is in a funk when they hire a coach. So some people hire because things are going very, very well, and they want to make sure that they steward this season and these opportunities, and they optimize the situation to the best of their ability. I remember getting hired by an individual, like life, they were crushing life, and they were like, we're opening more offices. We want to make sure we do this right. Or we're looking to do an acquisition. We want to make sure we integrate the companies well and have a nice combined vision and values. And so it's good. It's like, hey, we're moving forward. We just want to make sure as we're going down this hill fast that we are, steering well through that. Then the other example is there are some people when it's time for a coach, they're kind of in a funk. They're stuck. A little bit like what you and I are talking about before we hit record is how you help leaders go from kind of unstuck to kind of thriving. And so same with me. And I get a lot of individuals who have lack purpose. Like they're just burned out. Like, am I really just going to manage P&L for the rest of my life? Am I really just going to be, selling product XYZ for the rest of my life? And so they'll just be in this kind of lack of purpose, hitting burnout. Some of them are kind of like, all right, now this is affecting my home. I'm kind of blah when I get home. And so we talk to them. So basically, clients come at me, I'd say either in the valley or in the peak. It's not it's got to be one way or the other.
All right. Well, that's beautiful. And for me, unfortunately, a lot of times they come when things are stuck. They usually don't come to me when things are good. And I often say, "Why did you wait so long to contact me?"
Yep.
Because sometimes they'll be watching my work, and they're just muscling through the day just to get things done, and so they're in a lot of chaos, a lot of firefighting, and unfulfilled and worn out, and so there's nothing more to give to others. And so then they wait too long, and then it's a point of crisis. And then they really, really need somebody not only to help them with their mindset, their leadership style, but also fix the business. Probably a little bit more expensive by that time. Wouldn't it have been better? I'm just saying to you leaders out there, wouldn't it have been better maybe to contact me or a person like Cory when things are just humming along and you're starting to get a little bit uncomfortable? Because again, sometimes if you call, it might be too late to fix the home or the business. So
Yep.
tell me a quick story. Tell me, I know you have 160 stories or so, but we know your story, but maybe share a bit of a story of a client of yours. Where were they at and where were they at when you were done working with them?
I've just mentioned burned out. So this client is top of mind since I just mentioned burnout. And basically what ends up happening, and this happens with a few other companies, this particular individual owns a construction company. And when we started working out, it was seriously a little kind of like my examples, but it's like, am I really going to run this construction company for the rest of my life? Like, is this all that it's about? And when I get individuals that are in that scenario, it's a similar situation to what I had when I talked to my boss, or not my boss, my coach. This would have been about 8 years ago when I was president of sales for this company. And I was seriously like, is this all I do? Is I travel around the country and I just try to improve profitability for the private equity group that owns us? Like, is that really why I'm on this planet? And he challenged me to put together a vision statement or a purpose statement. And I know it sounds simple, but it changed me. I mean, because my purpose statement, and in my first book, it's called Win at Home First. And I put together these 5 different P's to help you put together a vision statement. It's the same process I used. And it's passions, provisions, personality, problems, and potential. Those 5 P's. You can learn more about it. And Deb, as a thank you to your listeners for listening, they can have a free book. If they go to my website, it's corymcarlson.com/free book. They just have to pay shipping and handling. They can pick Win a Home First, the book I just mentioned, which is to help you with work-life balance. The second book is Rise and Go, which is about giving you resilience and hope. The idea of Rise and Go is all leaders get knocked down. It's just the great leaders get back up quicker. So what could it look like in your life if the next time you got knocked down, you were able to get back up quicker?
So what was the inspiration for the second book?
I got knocked down. So,
And
oh
I had
man,
too many times.
now we got 2 stories going. Now I got my burnout story and I got this knockdown story. Let me close out on this knockdown story, or I'm sorry, with this burnout story of my client and myself.
Yeah.
So I put together my vision statement, and it is to connect people to greater performance and even more significant purpose. So when I was president of sales and I put together that statement, it changed. My there's my mindset shift. So when I traveled to Nashville to meet my sales individual, or when I traveled up to New York to travel with that sales rep, instead of just thinking about the P&L and how to increase revenue, how do I increase profitability, instead it's like, how do I connect these people to greater performance and even more significant purpose? So greater performance for me is I want to help them win at home and work. So give them the tools to make sure they're doing, ask them the questions to help them think. And then greater purpose, for me, I am a faith-based individual. So if I can talk about that with my employees, then I would. And if I couldn't, because I had some that didn't have faith, just a greater purpose, like serve others. Where can you be generous? Where can you be collaborative? And so that was so cool. So coming, full circle to this client we were talking about who ran the construction company, we put together a vision statement for him. And for his vision statement,
It obviously had the construction play on in there. He wanted to help people build a greater life. And so when he would be with his employees, he would think, how can I help them build something greater? And it just changed how he showed up. It wasn't just about the P&L more. And he's got some cool stories that have came out of it. And so that's kind of a big thing on the to-do list in my coaching programs. I want them to come up with a vision statement of who they are, because, a cool big vision statement or purpose statement, whatever you call it, it puts a little fire in the belly, right, to get you excited, but also puts a little fear. Like, wow, this is big, this is daunting. So that's the deal with that's a story of the client. And then Rise and Go, that second book, and asking about that knockdown. Deb, my family and I made the big decision on March 1st, 2020 to go all in into coaching and speaking. That was our master plan. We're going to go all in. And as we know, that was not a great time to launch anything. So March 1st, we went in, we said goodbye to corporate, goodbye to, other people paying our insurance, and we're going all in. And so that was March 1st. March 13th, that's when the United States started to shut down, mask mandates, work from home, airlines canceled. On that day, I received emails canceling a few speaking engagements and workshops. And in that day, 35% of my revenue went away. And I know listeners, some were affected much worse than me, lost jobs. And I know there were, deaths related to COVID. I know all those things, we were impacted differently. But for us and our family, we just made a big step. We went all in, and here I am losing 35%. I've got 3 kids. And at that time, one was a sophomore in high school. And so it's like, well, what's going to happen to college? What's going to happen? What's going to happen to the other 65%? Is that going to go away? And then I won't be able to get a job. All this tailspin mentality. And what ended up happening was, over the course of a few months, I was pointed to some different things that helped me get back up. One was the phrase rise and go. The phrase rise and go it's found in scriptures in the books of Acts 8, 9, and 10 in the New Testament, that I was reading that, where 3 individuals were told to rise and go. And so I'm reading these, I'm like, I need to rise and go. Like, I need to get on my pity party out of my desk and to rise and go. I then heard some cool inspirational stories on people's podcasts. And so I started to just kind of get back up on my feet and put together some content that was helping me. Well, then, Deb, over the course of that next year, with about 60 clients, I was sharing just pieces of that content. Like, someone would say, I'm struggling with this, or hearing no too much, or, and I would just give them content that was helping them and got battle tested. When it helped them, I was like, all right, there's a book here. So that's why I put it together in a book. And so Rise and Go is to give you the courage to get back up and the confidence to move forward. It's in 20 different chapters. And then they're just basically standalone chapters to help you on hope, or to help you on gratitude, or to help you on, kind of future. So it's been fun. It's been really cool to come alongside leaders and to help them elevate mindset. As you know from coaching, mindset's a huge deal for individuals.
I know. And again, I just spoke to somebody last night. This person, you know who you are. You're my number 1 download. They've been on my show, but just having a conversation with them externally, I have planted some seeds, help them to realize their purpose. Sometimes they put it away. They have one and they put it aside because of circumstances, or maybe they have a momentary lapse in confidence. It's up to you and I, people like us, to see the greatness in these people and help them live what they think they might be able to achieve, but maybe just need a little bit of a push. But you didn't finish the story. So what about you? So lost revenue, picked yourself up, got a book out, but now you're thriving. So how did you get back through? Like, what happened in your journey to start getting to a place of being able to thrive again? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, well, thanks. I mean, it was a journey. I mean, it wasn't easy. I don't want anyone to think, if they are in a valley, that, it's so easy. Just get right to that next peak. So for me, it was kind of like one foot in front of the other, and just continuing to get out there, do the LinkedIn DMs and to make the phone calls and to do the talks and just, kind of just continue to get out there. And so now fast forward to now, I mean, the business is back and have 3 coaches on my team, already to add a 4th, and doing one-on-one coaching. Got a couple masterminds, one local in Cincinnati, then I have a couple virtual ones. And so it's just going, very, very, it's great. I can't believe I get to do this for a living and help business leaders win at home and win at work. I mean, it's fantastic. But to answer the question kind of on the how, I think for me, and I think for any leader listening, is I think about this from a proactive and a reactive standpoint. For me, proactively, some of the things I'm doing is like my quiet time is very important in the morning, where it is scripture, it is prayer, it is journaling, but that helps. Working out is like, if my biology gets off, I'm off. Like if I stayed up too late, I shouldn't have had that, extra glass of wine. I shouldn't have had those extra cookies. The next day I'm sluggish. So I try to be intentional about my night before, right? You win the day the night before. And so I try to be intentional with that. And then proactive, I got much better about blocking out my calendar. To time batching, time blocking, energy management, kind of paying attention when I had my calls, when I do my podcast. That's all been helpful. So that's a lot of my proactive pieces that were really cool. And then it's also just intentional with going on dates with my wife, intentional time with my kids, making sure I'm spending time with buddies. And so like that was all helpful on the proactive standpoint. On the reactive standpoint is some days just stink, right? A client quits, or too many, a bunch of prospects feel like they all say no. And so I also have put together some tools to help me when those days are just hard. And so at the back of the book, Rise and Go, I put together a Rise and Go manifesto. It's got 8 different parts, and I'll just go there. And there I am statements that I'll read. There are some other pieces that just help me get back up after those cruddy days. And so I think for the listener is just make sure you've got some tools at your disposal to help you armor up in the morning, like where you're ready to go to battle, but then also during the day when you kind of get, like the Mike Tyson quote, everyone's got a plan till they get punched in the face. And, that's so applicable.
What I really love about this is, again, you show up and look successful. You have to put out a positive persona, look confident, because people want to be able to rise and go. Same thing with me, Deb Coviello, the drop-in CEO. Yeah, I look polished, I sound polished, but oh my, peel back the layers. You don't know what goes behind trying to find the people that we can serve. So our listeners out there, yes, in real life, it is challenging, whether you are in a corporate role or in a business. You have good days and bad days, and that's okay. But as long as you have the tools like the ones Cory referred to be able to reflect and also keep yourself whole, invest in yourself first, because then you can give oxygen to others. And then you'll be able to serve and be able to move forward and getting very clear on what is your purpose. So many people simply don't pause and reflect. And sometimes you can do it on your own. I think I did it on my own, but then maybe you need that coach to help you to execute or manifest that, or what is. It is no shame to invest in yourself. If you don't invest in yourself, who is? Maybe you're lucky you have a few people that really care, but think about investing in yourself, either Cory or Deb or even somebody else. We're just here to plant the seeds to help you be successful. Cory, I love this conversation. I am so grateful that Todd introduced us, because what we do and our purposes are very, very much aligned. But I would love to give you the floor one last time if there are any last closing thoughts for our listeners.
Well, thank you very much, Deb. Thank you, Todd, for the intro, and I appreciate you for sure. Last thing on the, I would say on the floor, one, grab a book at the website, CoryCarlson.com/free book. And the other is, if you felt a nudge during this podcast to do something, date your spouse, get up in the morning, go to the gym, whatever it is, go for it. To do one thing, and then if that works, add another. I know, Deb, and you can relate to this because you and I both have podcasts, and there's tons of information out there. What we lack is implementation. And so just grab one item, implement, give it a go. And if it works, great, add another. If it doesn't work, try another thing. But I just, man, I'm just always kind of trying to think, hey, what can I implement to help me just get better as a husband, as a father, as a leader? And so hopefully that'd be some encouragement for somebody.
So I am grateful, Cory, that you have dropped in on the podcast. You provided so much value. If nothing else, I'm inspired to know that there are great people like you trying to serve many great people out there. So to my listeners, check out Cory's work, go to his website, take advantage of the free book. And I wish all of you to return to the podcast for another great episode. But Cory, I want to wish you well and much success. And thank you for being a great guest.
Thank you very much, Deb. Appreciate it greatly and what you're doing.